The City of Cape Town has welcomed a move by the Public Works Department to begin an eviction process for those living in tented encampments around the Castle of Good Hope precinct. Now, this follows its successful application for the eviction of unlawful occupations at various sites across the CBD. This week, the High Court granted the Sheriff of the Court permission to evict any remaining unlawful occupants if needed by the end of July. Now, the city says it has made every possible effort to offer alternative accommodation as well as services and to reintegrate the homeless who live in the Cape Town streets. Jean-Ray Knighton Fitt, U-Turn CEO, joins us now to weigh in on the evictions. Thank you so much for joining us, Jean-Ray. Firstly, what is your view on this matter? Are these evictions actually justified?
No, I think it's a really complex situation. From a legal perspective, I guess they are justified because they've gone through the courts. From a human perspective, we realize there's a clash of rights here and a clash of responsibilities. So the city has to keep the streets clean and safe for its citizens. And then you've got people on the streets who are there sometimes through no fault of their own, in other cases perhaps because of their own actions, but nevertheless they're trapped in that kind of environment. I think evictions are probably, the city has done a lot of work to try and create alternative spaces. They've really worked hard at this. They've worked with us, they've worked with other NGOs. The big question is this going to help? That's a question that we would ask. We're not in favor of homelessness. We're trying to help people overcome homelessness. But are the evictions going to help? And that there's probably a bit of a mixed response to that. Some people will take up the city's offers of accommodation. Some people will then manage to get off the streets successfully. Others will just end up stuck in the system or just move further down the road. But in terms of their justification, it's really a complex answer to that question.
It is rather complex, Jean-Ray. I mean, the issue then of finding those that will remain in the streets. We know that this practice was largely criticized. I'm not sure if you can remember back during the COVID pandemic, and also the illegal immigrants that actually form part of these homeless groups is another important aspect in this whole exercise. So how do you think they're going to get around this issue?
Well, I think, again, the issue of fining is problematic. As far as we know, less than 0.2% of fines for homeless people ever get paid. So it's a rather fruitless exercise. They don't have the means to pay them. And in fact, fining people often prevents them from coming off the street because it's all these fines and all of these things that hang over their heads. There is probably not as much of a problem with illegal immigrants in Cape Town as there is in other parts of the country. Certainly in Johannesburg, we find that a much bigger issue than we do in Cape Town. But it is still a factor, yes. I'm not sure how the city is managing that, to be honest. I suppose the bigger question is are there enough spaces for people, and what is being offered, is it effective and efficient in terms of getting people off the street? And there is a question mark. I think as I said, a lot has been done. But the issues of helping people get jobs, issues of helping people reunite with families and become properly stable are, again, very complex issues. We work generally as U-Turn, we work with homeless people over a period of about 2 years before they are completely stable, employed, sober, and back on their feet. So it's not something you can really do in an afternoon or even in a couple of days or weeks.
Yes, absolutely.
We would always advocate working with people to develop a sense of a will or a motivation for change, which then helps them actually take a journey off the street rather than sort of a law enforcement approach.
You make very valid points there, Jean-Ray. I mean, looking at that whole issue of safe spaces or shelters that are actually being offered as an alternative by the city, we understand that there is even certain rules that many people don't like. Hence, they actually prefer not to be confined in those shelters. So how do you think this will be mitigated on while ensuring that the people are free and, of course, don't revert to going back on the streets again?
You're absolutely right. Lots of people do not like the shelters. They do not want to stay in them or the safe spaces because of the rules. As I said earlier, our focus as an organization is to work with people on the street to develop a motivation to change. Once they feel motivated to change, they say, I want to get over my addiction, or I want to get off the street, I want to get a job. They're far more likely to be able to fit into that kind of environment. We have much higher success rates when there's a strong motivation. If you push people into an environment with rules, then they don't like it. They'll push back. They've been on the street, they haven't had rules. At the same time, I really do understand the city's problem, because they have a huge problem, 14,000 plus people on the street. And this increases crime, it increases the dirt and messiness in a place, and obviously it detracts from tourism, etc. So they're caught in a situation. The city wants fast solutions. We as an organization and many others in the sector are saying there are no quick fix solutions. It's a long process. I don't want to point fingers at them. I think they really are trying to do the best they can, but it's a difficult situation.
But I mean, Jean-Ray, very quickly to wrap it up, I mean, just on that point, are you currently doing any collaborative efforts with the city to ensure or try and assist them in that maybe whatever they cannot do, then it falls in your hand, or some of the services that they cannot offer the homeless, then they give it to organizations such as U-Turn?
Yes, we do work closely with the city. We have a good relationship. We obviously don't always agree. Sometimes there are strongly differing opinions, and then on other things we do agree. So we do work closely with them. We would like to work more closely with them. Always what we're saying is put more money into reintegration programs, put more money into rehabilitation, put more money into job creation and support for people seeking employment and developing the skills for employment. You get more bang for your buck in the long term with that than forcibly removing people. But yes, in short, we do work with the city. We do want to have a collaborative relationship with the city. We'd like it to be more integrated than it is now. And similarly, we work with a lot of other NGOs to try and make sure that we bring our different strengths to the table so that we can be as long-term effective. And U-Turn does have an effect, a long-term rate of over 90% of people who graduate from our program who remain employed, sober and housed. So we do have some of the best methodology out there in terms of dealing with homelessness. It is a matter of scaling that and working with the powers that be.
All right. Thank you so much, Jean-Ray, for your input this afternoon. Hopefully the GNU, the new government, might give you some of those, some of those things that you want to tick off your list that you've mentioned here, more collaborative efforts, as well as more money that is going to be put into these projects. That is Mr. Jean-Ray Knighton Fitt. He is the CEO at U-Turn.